Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chase and this is All Things Rum. Today we are talking about a watch on Kickstarter, which is something I normally do not do, so stay tuned. Now, today we are talking about a watch from Merkur. Now, I have not had my hands on this watch, and normally I do not like to talk about or review watches that I haven't had at least some idea of what they are. Now, Merkur, in all honesty, reached out to me and said, hey, can you go ahead and promote my Kickstarter campaign, and then we will send you a watch to review later. Now, for me, I was like, okay, now what do I do here? I was should I say something? Should I not say something? And then I said, you know what? There's a potential to really do a good review on both the Kickstarter and the actual watch itself. Now, a lot of people will say that Kickstarters are kind of a back and forth on whether or not you get your money's worth or you don't. Now, some people would say, now an example is my Aventi. Now, Aventi started on Kickstarter. Their first thing was on Kickstarter. Now they have grown to produce watches that are $50,000 in their Golden Tiger. Now, do I agree with their Golden Tiger? No, I do not. But they've grown into this massive, amazing watch company that I have purchased two of their watches. I've spent almost $9,000 on watches from Aventi, and I did not participate in their Kickstarter campaign. It was afterward. Now, a lot of people would say, hey, Kickstarter's great to really give a boost to that company. Merkur's been around for a little while, so the pure fact that companies that have been around for a little while use Kickstarter for their initial funds, for their production of their watches, to me, I don't know, it feels a little wishy-washy. All that being said, we're going to go ahead and look at the Kickstarter campaign. Then Merkur promised to send me a watch. Will they send me a watch? Well, I hope so. There's been plenty of companies that have reached out to me, asked me to do things, and then have not followed through on their end. So I'm going to review the Kickstarter. Then whenever they send me the watch, I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of exactly what the Kickstarter said with what they produced. And if they don't send me a watch after the campaign is over like they promised, then I will talk about that also. So it's a win-win for me and a win-win-win-lose for them. Honestly, let's just go ahead and get into the Kickstarter campaign. Now, specifically, we're talking about the Merkur FOD Neo Vintage Inspired Skin Diver Chronograph. This watch is currently available on Kickstarter, like I said, and I'll leave the link down below. Now, hopefully, once the campaign is over, they will send me a watch to review. I have been promised such things in the past, and the companies have always, 90%, so is that always, but have oftentimes fallen through. So hopefully they don't do that. If they don't, then I will do a side-by-side of what the campaign offers and what the watch actually is when it came. Now, they say the watch was inspired by the timepieces of the 1960s, but given a slightly modern facelift. FOD is paying a tribute to what they say is the golden era of dive watch history by reimagining the popularized Skin Diver series. Now, this takes all of its cues from the classic and retro aesthetic, but gives it the modern seals and technology of the movements of today's world. Now, is it really modern, the movements they use? Well, we will talk about that later in the video because I don't think there's anything modern at all about the movements they use, but again, not a bad thing. Now, the case itself is a 316L stainless steel, which is the industry standard, and it is slightly larger at 38 millimeters compared to the 1960s case at 35 millimeters. Now, 38 millimeters, I say, is the perfect sort of watch size for the medium style wrist, which is what most people are. 35 millimeters is slightly small, and 36 millimeters I would also say is slightly small. 40 millimeters they say is a perfect watch size for most people, but I would argue that 38 millimeters is actually the perfect watch size. So this, I would say, is pretty damn spot on. Now the design, they say, is celebrating the heritage of the tool watch, but with a distinct dressy sports style. Now FOD is offering two different models, a 38 millimeter manual wind chronograph and a 38 millimeter manual wind three-hander that is very field watch-ish or vibe. Now both have two variations. The chronograph has black with cream indices and red accents, and a green with the same cream indices and red accents. Now the field watch, or the MSD-001, the three-hander field watch, is offered in the same black and green. The dial with the same cream indices as the chronograph, with an arrow hand for the hour and a sword hand for the minute, is very reminiscent to me, or takes its styling cues from the Omega Seamaster. Now you can argue with me down in the comments, but honestly I think that the hands are from an Omega. Now let's talk engines of the watches right now. The chronograph houses the ST1901 from Seagull. Now this is a very, very reliable column wheel chronograph that a lot of people know about. Now a lot of people know about the Seagull ST1901 because it was an original movement from Venus, which was a Swiss watch company. Now, basically, the story is back in the day, China bought the rights and the manufacturing equipment. So when you buy something with an ST1901 Seagull chronograph, it's basically a Swiss chronograph built by China. You can argue in the comments below again if you disagree. Now the next is a three-hander with the M01D movement made by Merkur themselves. The design, they say, is inspired by the Swiss Incar 1010 movement and the Seiko 850. The manual wind movement has a power reserve of 42 hours, beats at 21,600 vibrations an hour, so not a high beat movement, and is beautifully decorated. Now the lume on this watch is very bright under the darkness and it glows green. They say they use a Swiss cream lume, but do not specify exactly which Swiss lume they use. The picture shows one thing, but what does real life really show? It's not hard to take a picture of bright lume after it's illuminated, but how long does it really last? Now the Kickstarter page states that the straps used are Italian leather. There are two types of leather used, a dress palm and a sports suede leather. They, of course, are equipped with quick release spring bars, which I would expect. I have that on my own watch strap. So in today's world, there's no reason not to have quick release spring bars. Now let's talk turkey when it comes to pricing. The MSD-001 with the K1 mineral crystal is $145 USD. The model 001 in sapphire, which is the chronograph, is $254. Now I think the pricing on these are extremely reasonable for what's offered. A lot of things, especially with the Seagull 1901 movement, are in watches that are $200 to $400, so I think $250 is right, sort of on par. Now, the Kickstarter campaign ends October 14th, so check them out again in the link below. I don't think you're really going to get anything bad if you actually receive one of these watches from Merkur. Now, Merkur has been around for quite some time. They do have watches on the market, so I'm not really worried about you ordering a watch, not getting the watch, as if it's from some watch company that just spurted up and has no history behind them. Merkur has a history. Now, are they going to actually follow through with the promises that they're offering in their Kickstarter? Well, I have no idea. And in fact, if you ordered a Merkur FOD Skin Diver, what I would like you to do is leave a comment down below, because I'd be interested to see what the process is from ordering and receiving. Now they say, hey Chase, I want you to look at my Kickstarter campaign. And I said, sure, I'll look at the Kickstarter campaign. And what I see is pretty good stuff. I see that they're offering pretty good quality watches. I love the way they look, and the price points are very, very, very on the mark of what I would recommend for a lot of my viewers. But are you going to follow through with everything that you say? Well, I just don't know, because I don't have a watch in hand. Now, with things like this Aventi, again, some people were extremely disappointed in Aventi because they were very slow in producing their watches for the Kickstarter price. And I know that the first watch that I ordered, because I talked to a few people, I was a person who got my allocation, my order allocation. So I'd call in to the concierge service and I would get an allocation, like for my Modena yellow Aventi A10 titanium with a Cerakote finish. I got my allocation before a lot of people got theirs on Kickstarter. So, I mean, it's sort of like, am I going to get something from Merkur? We shall see. And we will wrap it up by saying, if you like videos and videos like this, hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment of the content you guys would like to see on this channel. I've got a lot of videos coming up in the future. So make sure you guys are hitting that notification bell to make sure you guys are notified when I drop all of those videos. Until next time.